Well, I just came across a list of things that you might not hear very often in church. So I thought I'd just share those with you. Hey, it's my turn to sit on the front row. I asked them to. I was so enthralled, I never even noticed your message went over 25 minutes. I've decided to give the church the $500 a month I used to spend on Amazon. I'm volunteering to be the permanent collector of church donations. Since we're all here, let's start the service early. I can't wait to give 10% of my time and my income to the church. Woohoo! Reverend, we are sending you to a 2-week seminar in Italy. And last but not least, when it comes between brunch or a round of golf on a Sunday morning, I would much rather go to church. Yeah. So here we are. And last week, for those of you that were here, I shared with you the new vision and mission of Unity of Gaithersburg, because we were talking about vision and what vision is in our life. You know, vision, we hear about it in corporate situations about how a vision and mission are so important, but what about in our own lives? So, how are you doing with your vision? Were you able this week to spend some time looking at a big picture for your life? Because the beautiful thing about a vision is that it calls us up to be something great. We're already great, but in terms of just being and expressing something greater than where we are when we're comfortable. You know, a philosopher said a vision is the art of seeing the invisible. So what it calls us up to do when we're living in a vision and we're co-creating in our, a vision for our lives is what it calls us up to do. It calls us to stand in faith and knowing that it's possible, because the thing is, a vision's not about the evidence we can currently see. So it calls us up to use our power of imagination about what's possible. And it just calls us, I think it just calls us up to be all that we're here to be. And I love that. But sometimes it can be scary for us to live into something that's like, I can't even see. I can't, it's not tangible. See, a vision is not something we reach for. It's something that we pull in for. We bring it right here to this moment. You see? It's not out here as something unreachable. It's something that we live into moment to moment to moment that calls us to be just our greatness, fully expressing. And a mission is how we go about doing that. So what do we aspire to be, and how are we going to go about doing that? And so I wanted to share with you the Unity of Gaithersburg vision and mission is being love, joy, and harmony. We expand the consciousness of oneness. That's our new vision statement. Being love, joy, and harmony, we expand the consciousness of oneness. And you heard, I'm going to see if I can do it by memory. We are a heartfelt, evolving, and expansive spiritual community, committed to expressing our divinity and honoring all through spiritual practice, education, and service. I tell you, that is just the yummiest thing I've heard in a long time. So that's what we're about. And so I wanted to just, again, bring that home to your own life. What's your vision for your life? What's the big picture? Expanding a consciousness of oneness is big, especially when we look out into the world and see the evidence. It looks like we're separate, doesn't it? But what we know that oneness is. And so I just wanted to share with you how I've used it in my own life in a personal story, because today is a pretty special day, and I'll get to that in a minute. I had a vision to be a Unity minister. Surprise. I went to Unity of Washington, D.C. There was a woman here that's from Unity of Washington, D.C. That was my first spiritual community. And I had been looking for a spiritual home because I had been doing lots of healing work. And, when you do lots of healing work and you start to get it about yourself, and then, I could no longer walk into a church and hear what a lowly sinner I was anymore. I just couldn't do it. I had a visceral response to that, And so I had tried several Unity churches, and it just didn't quite feel right because, we have lots of flavors in this area. I was living in Northern Virginia. And some beautiful soul said, I know where you're going to love, and you're going to love Unity at Washington, D.C. And I remember I walked in there, and I probably have already shared this with you, but I love this story. There's a woman named Eloise. If you remember Eloise, she was a greeter, and she was about this tall, African-American woman, and she was full-chested. And I say that for a reason. Here I am, I'm 6 feet, tall, and probably about 6'3" this morning, in my heels. And I walk in, and she pulls me into her chest and said, "Welcome home, baby." I just started. I cried through the whole service. And I came back and was there for 3 years. But the first class I took was in 1996. It was 4T. And I said, I got to do this. I know this is my vision, and I know it. So obviously I lived into that vision, but I got to tell you, there were times that it felt so much bigger than me. Because the first time I applied to ministerial school, they redirected me. I think I shared that with you. They said, no thanks. And I went, are you kidding me? It was because I'd only been in Unity for a couple of years, and I was on the fast track. And they're like, no, honey, you need some more work. Yeah, you need to learn more. You need to get things in order. And so what happens when we have a vision, sometimes it feels like but this is my vision. How can you tell me? It's not mine to do. It was mine to do. But remember, there's an issue called timing, and it's divine. There's divine timing. And I knew that how I was going to get there was through discernment. That was my mission. I discern. I just kept asking, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? What is mine to do? What is mine to do in prayer? And also, what got me to standing here before you today was living into my core values. And today, I want to talk to you about core values. Our guiding principles. Because, folks, when we're living into something bigger than us, it calls us to know the truth of who we are. It's going to call us up to every fiber of our being. It's going to trigger us and push us, and we're going to feel uncomfortable. And so what's going to support us, and folks, let's just use this, in our world right now. It's looking pretty interesting out there sometimes. And so as we hold a vision for something greater than what we're seeing on the news and on Facebook, I want to remind you that when you see something, like sometimes, I'll just see a picture, just a visual image, much less read the article, and it just, And what I've realized about that is, okay, so my vision's at work. I obviously have a vision of something that's not that. And what I'm being challenged with are my core values. My core values are being challenged, see? See, what got me through ministerial school was anchoring in my core values, living into my vision moment to moment and anchoring my core values. I mean, gosh, I was in my late 40s, and I had a business in Northern Virginia. I had a wonderful life here. I'd lived here like 20 plus years, and I'm like, I'm going to give up everything and move to Missouri. I mean, Missouri's great, don't get me wrong. It's just, I loved my life in Northern Virginia. I loved it. And so I had to anchor myself in something deeper, my core, than what was happening around me. And I deepened my core values at the time, and there still are discernment and prayer. Absolutely asking what's mine to do. Joy. I tell you what, joy is my compass. If I'm not joyful, I need to check in. Abundance. Okay, so I'm giving up a business that I've built, and I'm going to go and support myself for 3 years in a master's program with my cat. Yeah, that was a core value. And community. It takes a village to launch a life. It takes a village to unfold a life. I am so clear about it. And I had a community that launched me in love. Always chokes me up, because I think that's what we're here for. A big piece of what we're here for is we launch people in love into what is theirs to do, whether it means they stay in this community, they make their transition, or whatever. We launch because we love and we behold the truth. And then gratitude is another core value of mine. So, what are your core values? What are the pillars on which you stand? What are those values that are so core to who you are that when you see something on television or that's not that you feel? And see, I think what we're being called to know, folks, is our core values so consciously. I mean, I know that every single person in this room, you know you have values, of course. What are your core values? That if you feel like you are not living them and you're not standing on those pillars, that you feel out of integrity with yourself. Because I think that's what's happening. And the image that kept coming to me as I was writing this talk was that young man in 1989 in Beijing, in Tiananmen Square, that stood in front of those tanks. That, my friends, is an example of standing on a core value. Nothing shifts it. No wind from any direction. We're anchored. Your core values, our core values as a community, anchor us. And so what I invite you to explore for yourself in your own life is your vision for your life that's calling you greater, that's calling you to be all you're here to be. What actions are you going to take? And where am I going to anchor myself when the winds might come? Because, I think I've shared this with you before. My Southern Baptist mama still says, I'm praying for you and you're breaking my heart. She just does not, appreciate the gifts of unity. And can't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So your core values anchor you if naysayers come, when the winds of change come, when your own fears and maybe own self-doubts come. So I wanted to share with you Unity of Gaithersburg's new core values that are the pillars on which we are now standing. And the previous core values are beautiful. We're just in a new place right now. And so we've discerned, and this is all based on the responses that you gave at our community meeting. And so these are the core values of Unity of Gaithersburg that are inspiring us, that are calling us into action, and they are our compass. Community. We welcome, honor, and embrace all. We are a safe harbor. We value and support connection, open-hearted communication, and active engagement. So there's one or two statements that describe each core value. So that's community. I'm going to repeat that. So this is the description of community for Unity of Gaithersburg. We welcome, honor, and embrace all. We are a safe harbor. Isn't that beautiful? We value and support connection, open-hearted communication, and active engagement. Love in action, and here's the description of that core value. As a spiritual practice, we generously engage in heart-centered and ongoing service, outreach, and giving within Unity of Gaithersburg and beyond. Breathe in. Yeah. Prayer. In prayer, we affirm truth and expand our ability to behold the divinity of all that is. Gratitude. In each moment, we choose to appreciate life abundance with joy and open hearts. Breathe. Let that in. Abundance. We recognize and claim life's infinite flow. We give thanks for our ever-expansive prosperity. Integrity. Living from Unity principles, we embody and consistently practice honesty, accountability, transparency, and nonviolent communication. Take a deep breath. Now, I don't know about you. I'm excited to be a part of a community that embraces these core values. I mean, are you there with me? Yeah. I do know about you. I do know that you do. It's a beautiful thing. And so we anchor, those are the pillars on which we stand. As we continue to live into that vision of being love, joy, and harmony, we expand the consciousness of oneness. So I just invite you in your life right now to just explore again for yourself. What's your vision? What's your mission, and what are the pillars on which you stand? And to understand that when you see something around you that doesn't resonate, that's what's being challenged. And to see it for what it is. Because, folks, we are being invited to know and to anchor and to stand on our core values so that we can respond in a life-affirming way. This is about us releasing reactivity. Yeah, because the thing is, when we can see what's happening, when we're triggered about something, when we're upset, that's my core value being challenged. What's my vision, and what is mine to do? What is mine to do to be in integrity with my core values in this situation? To be in integrity with my vision. Yeah, and it can be as simple as letting someone in front of you in traffic. It can be as simple as just extending when you want to. Yeah. So I'm excited about this conversation in our world. It has a lot of power. Because again, the love in this room is way more than enough to raise the consciousness on this planet, folks. And we're that, and we're being that. And I'm grateful to be a part of a community that embraces this vision, that's all about the mission we're about, spiritual practice, education, and service, and our core values. So let's stand together. And I look, you don't have to actually stand. But if you want to, let's stand and anchor. Yeah, let's do it. Let's just stand. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so let's just stand and breathe into our core values. Yeah. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for the integral part you are. Your presence and your consciousness is so beautiful and so valuable. So let's take a deep breath and let's affirm our affirmation together. As I embrace my core values, I live in integrity with who I truly am. I express my divinity fully and joyfully, and so it is.